Good morning, friends, family, patriots, believers alike. This is Chris Kuhlmann with The Grid. I'm coming to you with a quick, short, and update today. So today I'm titling this a couple of things, but first it's by the numbers and blessings and curses. That's what I wanted to talk about. So I've got a couple notes here that I'm going to read, some on my phone, some on a piece of paper. But these numbers I'm going to share with you are as of April the 24th of this year. So just, basically a week ago, dating all the way back to October 7th, particularly around from October 7th till now, when Hamas attacked Israel and Israel has obviously responded. So there's been over 35,000 casualties of this war. A lot of you probably don't realize that. 1,410 Israelis, 34,000, as I'm just looking at my notes here, 34,262 Palestinians. That's pretty one-sided. Now, according to the Israeli Defense Fund, the IDF, out of those 34,000 Palestinians, approximately 66% of those are civilian casualties. That seems really high. I read another study that said probably 70% are women and minors. And then you look at some of these other, I would call them civil rights groups that still have a pretty liberal bent over in the Middle East and Europe. They say it's 90% that it's civilians. So I wanted to share that. And of the Israelis, of the 1,410 casualties that has happened with Israeli citizens, like 1,200 of that had occurred within just a few days of October 7th. Why? Because Hamas attacked Israel. Now, I don't have all the numbers of this, but you have to understand when I say attacked, this wasn't one military attacking another military. This was a group of individuals that waited till the Sabbath, when many Orthodox Jews have their internet, their phones turned off as part of the Sabbath. They attacked that morning knowing that the word would not get out fast. And immediately when they attacked, they were slaughtering men, women, and children, raping children, dismembering folks, burning them alive, raping them in the streets. That's not a military-to-military conflict. That's just pure evil. So I share that with you because I want you to understand exactly what's happened. And what has happened is Israel has responded. They said, enough. We are going to deal with this, and we are going to deal with this decisively. So since that time, only a couple hundred of Israelis have died, but again, almost 35,000 Palestinians. And everybody says, well, look what Israel is doing. This is horrible. Look how they're responding. I would remind you of how Hamas works. Hamas puts their headquarters in the basement of hospitals, elementary schools, apartment buildings. Hamas absolutely is using its citizens to try to protect its organization. And I love what Benjamin Netanyahu said months ago. He said, we use our missiles to defend our citizens. Hamas uses its citizens to defend its missiles. And that's very true. Hamas is an evil organization. It is the embodiment of evil. So I want to share a couple scriptures. Let me just plop over here real quick because I want you to hear what I had to say. These are just two scriptures that came to mind. And it's this. The Lord said to Abram in Genesis 12, I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. I share that because I think it is fundamentally important to realize that Israel is God's chosen people. We do not need to be on the side of Israel's enemies. We need to be aligned with Israel. Does that mean they're perfect? Does that mean they're not sinful? No. But we know for in fact, these are God's people, and it would be a bad idea to align ourselves with their enemy. Then I'm going to, here's one more scripture I want to share out of Isaiah. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. I really call that is putting things upside down. We get all messed up and we start calling things that we know are wrong as if they're right. And we call things that we know are evil. So why do I tell you all that? Why do I share those numbers? Why do I share those scriptures? because of a story that I came across in Fox News today. And this was the title, and it very much intrigued me. It says, Israel is concerned ICC could issue arrest warrants against Netanyahu and senior officials. I was like, huh? That's interesting. So I continued to read. Israeli officials are growing concerned that the International Criminal Court could soon issue arrest warrants against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other top officials over charges related to the war in Gaza, reports say. I'm reading this, and it's hard for me to be stunned anymore when I see garbage like this, but I am stunned nonetheless. And if you continue to read this, Israel is claimed of preventing the delivery of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. That's what the New York Times is reporting. This is absolutely nuts. Do you know that much of the aid that's gone in, there's like over 300 aid trucks and convoys that are going in there, and they can't get the aid to people. We're keeping in mind, Israel's attacked, Israel's responding, Israel has decided it's going to eradicate Hamas, and in the process to try to help the Palestinian citizens while they're eradicating Hamas, Israel is sending in aid, food, clothing, shelter, those kinds of things. Hamas won't let it happen. They've attacked the aid workers. They kill their citizens who try to get food. Why? Hamas steals it and uses it for their own. Why? Because Hamas uses their citizens to protect their ideology, not the other way around. The government is supposed to protect their citizens, not in Hamas's case. The citizens are a means to an end. So I'm going to continue. It said these arrest warrants that the ICC may issue that would probably be seen as much as anything as a humbling moral rebuke. Well, I don't know for who. I don't see it as a rebuke. I see it as evil. We're literally going to call out Israel for defending themselves. This is crazy. This is what is calling good evil, and in this case, evil good. It says in there that maybe they'll charge folks in Hamas as well, but that's probably not going to matter because Israel's already killed a lot of their top officials. Folks, you have to understand Israel is fighting a war. That's the first thing you have to understand. Number one, or I guess it's number one. Number two, you have to understand that Israel is fighting a war in a way that no one has ever fought a war. Do you know that Israel is able to co-opt the cellular service in Hamas or in Hamas's territory in the Gaza Strip and say, hey, we're about to attack this headquarters at this apartment building, you should get out? Can you imagine that kind of? So we get Amber Alerts. I got one the other day for, a couple hundred miles away where a child had been abducted. We get an Amber Alert. Israel does that with cell phone service saying, we're about to attack this location. If you're civilian, get out. Who does that? Israel drops leaflets, pamphlets from an airplane saying, we're going to attack this headquarters. You need to get out. We're going to attack this building, or we're going to do this or that. They're literally in the process of trying to attack Hamas and destroy the Hamas and eradicate Hamas. They're doing everything they can to notify the Palestinians that an attack is coming so they can get out, which in turn, I've got to believe, warns Hamas to some degree. But Israel is willing to do that because they're trying to minimize civilian casualties. Who does that? No one does that. That is going to extraordinary efforts, extraordinary, to try to limit civilian casualties. So I don't know, in reading these numbers of the 35,000 Palestinians that have died, and if it's truly 70% of them, so over 20,000 of them are civilians, I would be curious to know that how many of those civilian deaths are due to the fact that Hamas won't let people leave apartment buildings, or that Hamas kills their own citizens. I would be very curious to know that. So part of the reason I'm sharing that this morning, number one, we need to pray for Israel. They're feeling this international pressure just close in on them when we know, in fact, that all they're doing is defending themselves. That doesn't mean they're not, doesn't mean they're perfect. That doesn't mean that they made mistakes. They actually attacked a food truck by, I forget that chef's name, who's kind of raised an uproar. It does happen. But Israel, by and large, is doing everything they can to protect life. Something, by the way, that Hamas never did. They went straight to Israel citizens. So I share that because we need to be on the side of Israel. We need to pray for Israel. The Lord blesses those who are on the side of Israel, and he curses those who are Israel's enemies. And we need to remember that and lift them up in prayer and not get caught up in this nonsense. So we need to run away from the International Criminal Court as much as possible. And while I'm at it, how about we just leave the United Nations? And who's got the courage to do that? Is that going to be Biden? Is that going to be some other liberal Democrat that believes that our sovereignty should be subject to international law, in which they don't even hold close to the same values that we do? I think not. I could go off and pontificate on that all day long, but I'm not going to. You know where I'm coming from. Let's lift Israel up today. Hey, and real quick, I want to put a plug in for Messenger Creatives as I drink my Worship the Lord coffee mug. Messenger Creatives can be found on Etsy, and they have all kinds of different coffee mugs and various things that they are, as they're building their shop, want to put a plug in for those guys. Other than that, I want to say happy Monday. Have a great and blessed day. Love you guys.